Hey, it is Monday. And the Monday means it's the beginning of the work week. So I think at this point, this would be 31 or 32. So that means over 1 month of vlogging. Exciting. Not really sure what this is going to mean for me. It seems like things are kind of resetting a little bit, and some states have opened up their borders. I don't know why I said borders. They're opening up for business. And I believe that the same would be said of other states. So I think there's like a plan to kind of reopen certain businesses partially. So that should be pretty exciting. Maybe things would be kind of normalizing in one sense. And I guess the news is saying pretty much this will be an introduction to what the new normal will look like under the time of unvaccinated coronavirus. So pretty fascinating. In other popular news, I mean, there isn't much really. I think it's interesting kind of looking at how the finances are kind of being managed along the country, because really you're seeing a lot of really not so small businesses receiving government aid. And in a sense, a lot of these companies may or may not need them. There's a lot of controversy over kind of the use of capital, right? A lot of companies have been using their free cash flow or profits in terms of issuing out dividends and stock buybacks, which in a sense is good for shareholders, but as a business perspective, it's not very responsible, right? So a lot of these companies are actually looking for a government bailout because they haven't had the sufficient cash on hand to kind of mitigate a disaster that will kind of cripple their business. So I guess the question comes to, is it the government's responsibility to kind of bail these companies out, because really it is, in a sense, their own fault that they weren't able to kind of weather this storm. And on the other hand, I would say that a lot of families and small businesses are not receiving the aid that they need. Because really, I think looking at other countries, there are many countries who actually have stopped bills and rent for their citizens. And I don't believe that this is the case for US citizens. I think for the most part, the stimulus package has only given each family or each individual adult $1,200 at most. Or the most helpful part of the stimulus package was maybe the additional $600 in addition to the unemployment check. So this is very helpful, right? But it's hard to imagine how much $600 per check would do. I'm not really familiar with how much an actual individual unemployment check actually gives to an individual. And I'm not sure if how this will affect other sources of income, right? Not everyone necessarily has their income from jobs. They could be business owners, and if they aren't able to get the small business stimulus, then it's really a disaster. So I think despite the great money spent on stimulus packages, I'm not sure if the capital was allocated to the right places to those who need it most, which is quite unfortunate. I guess looking back, there would be a lot of significance into how we are going to look into the stimulus spending, because it can be said that a lot has not been done well about it, right? Especially with how the money was allocated towards businesses without any government oversight. Regardless of that, it is exciting to have another week, and it seems like things are looking up. So I'll see you later. Well, the plating's all wrong for this one, but really it's just some noodles over some cabbage and chicken. Getting in some of that noodles. Wow, that was a lot more noodles than I expected. Oh my gosh, and it's almost falling to the table. Nom nom. Hey there, what's up? Got a little bit of a nosebleed, so this is how it's going to be from here on out. Hopefully this doesn't seem too unprofessional, you know? I'm sure if I were in a professional setting, this would be kind of nice. Or maybe I should just settle my nosebleeds somewhere else. I don't know, but since childhood, I would just stuff some tissue paper up my nose. And it's kind of convenient, you know? Usually, I believe, well, the usual school nurse advice is to like pinch your nose, put your head back until it's gone. But I guess it's quite nice, although I guess kind of bleeding all over the place. PG-13 blogs coming to you from here on out. I think I did want to talk about the death toll that coronavirus had. It's just crazy, right? It's just, if you think about the number of deaths, the World Trade Center falling in 2004, I believe, was one of the greatest international disasters of all time. And the coronavirus is kind of like a slow burn, right? It's 50,000 deaths, many times more than the World Trade Center disaster. It's going to continue because we're still in the middle of it. I mean, actually, watching Chernobyl, it got me looking into Chernobyl somewhat. And I believe the total death toll from Chernobyl, it was a large range, but it was a magnitude of around 5 digits. So I believe within 10 to 90,000 people passed away as a result of the Chernobyl accident. Of course, it's not as dramatic. You can see that coronavirus, while I understand is not like the flu, to a lot of people it may seem like something like a very intense flu that will kill many. It's more internationalized and it's not as fearful, right? For some people, it's hard to understand kind of the magnitude of coronavirus. For Chernobyl, it is quite easy to understand because really the perspective was Hiroshima, right? Where approximately 100,000 people passed away from each atomic weapon that was used. So Chernobyl is kind of similar, right? In that sense. And you think about Chernobyl, whoa, and there's kind of like a very imminent threat right up in front of you and that had to be dealt with immediately. But coronavirus, it's really kind of, the way to handle it is quite boring. So it's hard to understand when everyone just has to stay at home and wear like face masks. Not quite as exciting, and to some people, it's just unbelievable, right? It's just like hard to understand. While I think the problem is that we have to kind of get it out there so it's easy to understand, right? It's tough to just tell someone that you have to do this and expect them to follow around with it. I mean, numbers can only do so much also. People can imagine that the numbers are fabricated, for instance, right? It's just kind of interesting how, you know, the perspective of a total death toll can be really outrageous, but really it's a slow burn, so it's kind of hard to understand when something wrong is happening over a long period of time. But those can be the most dangerous ones after all. So that's it for today, and happy Monday night. Have a good week. Whew, this was a long one.